had a strategic call with Zelensky the other day. What strategy did you
I thought it was a good call. He's being hit very hard, as I said he would. He's being hit very hard, and I was very disappointed with my call with President Putin. I was very disappointed.
General Oleksandr Syrskyi, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, delivered a comprehensive report during a recent meeting of the Supreme Commander-in-Chief's staff, highlighting both the intensity of the fighting and Ukraine's strategic posture across multiple fronts. Speaking on the current battlefield situation, Syrskyi emphasized the fierce resistance Ukrainian troops are putting up in critical directions such as Pokrovsk, Lyman, Novopavlivka, and northern Slobozhanshkina. According to Syrskyi, the last 24 hours saw 188 combat engagements, with over 1,000 Russian soldiers eliminated. He credited these results to the effectiveness of Ukraine's active defense tactics, which have prevented Russian forces from breaching defensive lines, particularly in the Pokrovsk and Novopavlivka sectors. Ukrainian units continue to deny the enemy any significant breakthrough and have successfully blocked attempts to reach the administrative borders of the Dnipropetrovsk region. In a bold statement, Syrskyi reaffirmed Ukraine's resolve to maintain offensive pressure in Russia's own border regions, declaring, "The enemy will find no peace in Belgorod and Kursk regions." Ukrainian forces continue to tie down significant Russian formations in these areas, preventing them from being redeployed to more active fronts. The meeting also focused heavily on the role of drone warfare in Ukraine's defense strategy. Syrskyi outlined ongoing efforts to strengthen both offensive and defensive UAV capabilities. This includes defending rear cities from Russian missile and drone strikes, supporting frontline operations, and executing precision deep strike missions into Russian territory. A particular emphasis was placed on drone interceptors. Syrskyi confirmed that new UAV crews are currently undergoing training, with a growing number of operators being prepared to deploy high-tech interceptor drones. He expressed confidence in the continued development of this capability, backed by the full support of the president and the government. The Ukrainian military leadership remains focused, adaptable, and determined. As Syrskyi concluded, Ukraine is growing stronger by the day, technologically, tactically, and morally. The message is clear. The fight continues, and Ukraine is prepared to defend every inch of its land while taking the battle deep into the enemy's territory. Ukrainian forces have repelled a rare mechanized assault near Novoekonomichne in Donetsk region. A Russian column of 3 vehicles advanced from Myrolyubivka toward the town. 2 units managed to breach the outskirts. One dropped off infantry, the other pushed deeper, but were ultimately contained. Large-scale Russian mechanized assaults have become increasingly rare in recent weeks. Instead of massed armor pushes, Russian forces are now relying more on smaller infantry groups and drone-supported operations. This shift reflects heavy losses in equipment and growing logistical challenges. Ukrainian defenses, bolstered by precision artillery and drone reconnaissance, have proven highly effective in repelling past armored attacks. As a result, Russia appears reluctant to commit large mechanized units, signaling a possible shift in their battlefield strategy driven by attrition and caution. Russia is targeting Ukrainian recruitment centers to destroy mobilization data and disrupt conscription, says Ground Forces spokesman Colonel Sarantsev. He warns the strikes may also deter reservists from reporting in.
The first thing is, of course, to physically destroy the data of those liable for military service, thereby slowing down this process or stopping it altogether. The second is to sow fear and disbelief, as the TCC, TSP, and most of them are located in densely built-up urban areas nearby. As always, there may be some developed transport infrastructure or large objects, and accordingly, this is also implied. Such dangerous proximity should outrage the citizens and stir them and prompt them to take some action against the territorial recruitment centers. And Russia may consider these 2 issues, and it is likely that this is exactly what it is betting on. At the same time, well, this spreading of fear and doubt is so that people simply stop going to territorial recruitment and social support centers for any issues, whether it's related to obtaining some social services, updating some information, or directly processing an appointment to sign a contract with the defense forces.
Trump, I'm helping Ukraine. I'm helping them a lot during a press exchange. He added that Zelensky is hit very hard, voiced disappointment with talks with Putin, and warned BRICS-aligned anti-American states of a 10% tariff. He also slammed Elon Musk, calling his political moves nonsense and a recent disaster.
You had a strategic call with Zelensky the other day. What strategy did you
I thought it was a good call. He's being hit very hard, as I said he would. He's being hit very hard, and I was very disappointed with my call with President Putin. I was very disappointed.
Putin's press secretary Dmitry Peskov commented on what the Kremlin thinks about Trump's decision to resume arms supplies to Ukraine. The Kremlin is convinced that this means Trump and the Europeans want the conflict to continue.
There was no definitive information stating that the deliveries were completed and stopped. You have to agree there are many contradictory statements. Obviously, the deliveries continue. We understand this. Obviously, the Europeans are also actively involved in supplying Ukraine with weapons. And it is obvious that, of course, these actions are probably not aimed at promoting peaceful resolution. That is, in this case, the line the Europeans have chosen is definitely directed at encouraging the continuation of hostilities. As for what exactly is being supplied and in what quantity continues to arrive in Ukraine from the United States, well, here еще потребуется время для того, чтобы это прояснить окончательно. Пока много идет противоречивой информации.
According to Axios, Trump promised Zelensky to send 10 interceptor missiles for the Patriot system immediately. The outlet reports that German Chancellor Friedrich Merz recently approached the U.S. president with a request to unblock the transfer of Patriot systems. In response, Trump proposed that Germany send one of its own batteries, while the U.S. and other allies would share the cost of its procurement. No deal has been reached yet, but negotiations are ongoing. President Trump's decision Monday to send defensive weapons to Ukraine followed days of consultations with aides and other world leaders about where those arms would actually come from. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot has announced that the European Union, on France's initiative and in coordination with U.S. senators, is preparing a new package of the toughest sanctions against Russia since the beginning of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Barrett stated that following the ceasefire proposal put forward by U.S. President Donald Trump and supported by Ukraine, the number of Russian strikes on Ukrainian cities has increased fivefold. This cannot go on any longer. This must come to an end. To achieve this, in coordination with American senators, Europe is preparing, based on French proposals, to introduce the toughest sanctions we have imposed in the past 3 years, which will directly drain the resources that allow Vladimir Putin to continue his war. Barrett said the new package would not focus solely on the energy sector, particularly oil export revenues, but will also target financial players both within Russia and abroad. It concerns legal entities and individuals who help the Kremlin circumvent existing sanctions. He emphasized that it is precisely because of this support that Putin is able to continue waging war despite mounting international pressure. Putin is no longer advancing at the front and is now reduced to raining missiles and drones down on residential areas, causing numerous civilian casualties. This must stop, Barrett stressed. European Pravda, citing 2 diplomats from influential EU countries, reported that the 18th EU sanctions package against Russia had been discussed and ultimately not adopted during a meeting of the EU Committee of Permanent Representatives, Coreper, in Brussels on the 4th of July due to Slovakia's opposition. The initiator of the U.S. sanctions bill against Russia over oil trade, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, stated that Trump supported its adoption in Congress. Senators Lindsey Graham, Republican, and Richard Blumenthal, Democrat, supported by 82 co-sponsors, introduced the bill to impose economic sanctions on Russia for obstructing ceasefire efforts in its war of aggression against Ukraine, particularly by imposing a 500% tariff on goods imported from countries that purchase Russian oil. The bill also has support in the House of Representatives, though no legislative steps have been taken since it was introduced this spring. Trump has publicly stated he would impose new sanctions against Russia if necessary. A Russian drone strike hit a residential building in Kharkiv, injuring 27 people, according to Mayor Terekov. Overnight drone and missile attacks also hit Kyiv, Sumy, and Odessa, damaging infrastructure, killing at least 3, and leaving hundreds without hot water. Russia has once again struck the city of Kharkiv in a brutal overnight missile and drone attack, continuing its campaign of terror against civilian populations. Multiple explosions rocked residential areas, damaging apartment blocks, private homes, and civilian infrastructure. Casualties have been reported, including injured civilians and emergency workers responding to the scene. This latest assault fits a disturbing pattern of deliberate Russian strikes aimed not at military targets, but at urban centers far from the front lines. Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city, has become a repeated target of such attacks, designed to spread fear, disrupt daily life, and exhaust local emergency services. These are not conventional military operations. They are acts of terrorism, targeting civilians in an attempt to undermine Ukrainian morale and pressure the population into submission. Ukrainian authorities and international observers continue to condemn these strikes as violations of international law. Yet, despite the danger, Kharkiv remains defiant. Rescue teams are working around the clock, and residents continue to support each other amid the wreckage. Ukraine's message is clear: no amount of terror will break its will to resist. Russian forces also attacked a civilian car with a drone in central Kherson. A 51-year-old woman and a 50-year-old man sustained blast injuries and shrapnel wounds. Both were taken to the hospital by emergency services and are receiving medical care.
Та ні, по-моєму, дрон сам упав.
Ага, які у вас поранення? Які у вас поранення?
Та я там понимаю. В голове.
В голову больше попало, осколки.
Так, ничего не пишут, давайте выезжать.
Да. Все, Петюнька, если что, там вот это... Хорошо. Ну, бывает, да.
Сейчас.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.